perfectly done. Jai, that was wonderful. And actually, I was a little bit sad when I first tuned in and realized it's like, where are the bhajans? And then Krishna made all arrangements and he made them perfectly. Everybody's camera wasn't working, and then everybody's camera was working, but at the exact moment. Those bhajans always remind me a little bit of Mangalananda Prabhu. And they give such a nostalgic, special.
He was my bhakta leader years ago.
Ah, you see? So it feels so nostalgic. It feels like everything that I've grown up with. So thank you so much. Thank you. Jai. So of course, because this is Shayan Ekadashi, I feel as though we needed Krishna's intervention and we needed those bhajans because this is the day where Lord Vishnu is going to sleep, nice nap for about 4 months. And what's going to sleep without a nice lullaby, you know? So I feel like it was necessary. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be with all of the devotees today and every Ekadashi. It's going to be a very special one. Which one isn't? But this one definitely will be quite special. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So thank you once again. Today is Devashayani Ekadashi, also known as Ashadi Ekadashi, Padma Ekadashi, so many names, but this Ekadashi marks almost the beginning, well, depending upon which sampradaya you're following, almost the beginning of Chaturmas. And for the 4 months of Chaturmas, everything kind of stops. Everything slows down. Everybody takes a minute to pause and reflect, often fasting, lots of fasting. And it is filled with prayer. We hear about the 4 months of Chaturmas within Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu famously stopped in the home of Venkatabhatta. And it was there that he spoke with Gopal Bhatta Goswami when Gopal Bhatta was about 7 years old. He gave instructions to Venkatabhatta, gave instructions to his whole family, including Prabodhananda Saraswati. So we hear about these times of Chaturmas during the monsoon season when everything just really slows down. There's no travel because everybody was walking. And as the monsoons come, there's no way to traverse all of these different pathways. It was very jungle oriented, lots of jungle areas. And so when the monsoon rains come and everything is flooded, there's nothing to do. We often also hear about the time of the monsoon during the Ramayana. Ram has gone on a great search, a trek to find Sita Devi. He finds Sugriva, helps him get his kingdom back. They make a pact that Sugriva will help him find Sita. And then the monsoons come, and nobody on Rishyamukha Hill can do anything. They also live in a very jungle area. And so everybody is forced to slow down and contemplate. So I think it's a very important time for us if we can take that same principle and that same lesson and use the next 4 months to slow down, contemplate a little, think about, where's my sadhana? Where do I want it to go? What is the goal of this sadhana? It's kind of a good time for a yearly check-in. Really see where we are, see where we'd like to go, and see how we'd like to follow in the footsteps of the great Acaryas. In this vein, this lecture I've kind of had the theme of our Acaryas understand our struggles. This Ekadashi of Ashadi Ekadashi is very dear to the devotees of Pandharpur, the land of Lord Vittal, very dear to Tukaram. So we'll be interweaving a little bit about that. Lord Vittal is so unique. There are some deities that are just incredibly unique. You can't help but recognize them and know them. And Lord Vittal is one of those deities. He stands not like Krishna in a threefold bending form. His stance is quite straight. And his legs are not crossed, one over the other, like Krishna. But instead now, his feet are straight and his hands are on his hips. And so they say that his hands on his hips often signify that Krishna will help his devotees cross this ocean of material existence. And for the devotees, that ocean of material existence becomes just waist high. And so it signifies that once we take shelter of Krishna, that ocean of material existence becomes not an ocean any longer. Srila Prabhupada has often used the analogy that once we surrender to Krishna, this entire ocean of material existence becomes no more than the amount of water that can fit within the hoofprint of a calf. And calf's hoofprints are quite small. So this is our fate. Sometimes we wonder what happens to us. What happens to us if we surrender to Krishna? The answer is all of the best things. But it doesn't mean that there won't be struggle. It doesn't mean that everything is just simply smooth sailing. Tukaram came from a family of moneylenders. So some say that they were quite wealthy, but some also say that their caste was compromised. And we see this quite often. It seems as though so many devotees come from families and lineages outside of the societal conventions. And this gives me hope. This gives me such hope because Srila Prabhupada came to give Krishna consciousness to all of these people who were outside of societal caste conventions. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu likewise came to give Krishna consciousness to so many of those who are outside of caste conventions. When you take this Krishna consciousness up, I think it is imperative for us to know that it may cause an uproar. There may be lots of resistance. It may feel like you are starting a revolution that maybe you never even wanted to start. Most people might be thinking, I'm not a revolutionary. This is not what I signed up for. I was just trying to practice something that would give my mind some ease and some peace. And Krishna has other designs. So we see in the case of Tukaram, his family was worshipping Lord Vittal, family of Vaishnavas. And when he began to take up this worship, one of the things that they often tell him is, it's not good to be so devotional so young. Leave that to the old people. You can go on yatras and pilgrimages when you get older. But for now, concentrate on life. Do all the things, make sure you. And have we ever felt like we've encountered that? We can sometimes grow up, if you've grown in a family of devotees, or you grow up hearing about this spiritual mindset that we must have. It's quite important. And then when you dive in, the opposite happens. Everyone around you tells you, hey, it's not so good to be so too spiritual. Maybe tone it down a little. Maybe be a little bit more normal. Why can't you just fit in? So our acharyas understand our struggles. They are not outside of the realm of understanding what we are going through. And I can only equate that to when we come into Krishna consciousness and are serious about it. Srila Prabhupada often says we are declaring war on Maya. So there's a way that we have been going along our lives for many lifetimes, and we've been moving along this path, not creating any waves, trying to think that we're the controller, and material nature is subjugating us and reminding us that we are not the controller. And then all of a sudden we begin to surrender. And then everything, material nature, family, Krishna, even everybody's attention perks up. And so in some cases, in Krishna's case, this is wonderful. We want the attention of Sri Krishna. In the case of material nature, she also perks up. Oh, you want to surrender. Let's see. Are you sure? And I was reflecting on one lecture that I heard, and the speaker was speaking very much about material nature. And I was thinking, that's the job of material nature. She asks, are you sure? And then, to prove her point, as any good philosopher, etc., would, she gives so many examples. Are you sure? There could be some enjoyment over here. Are you sure? There could be some resistance over here. Are you sure you want to take this path? Look at what you could be losing out on. Are you sure? And so our job is to be, as Srila Prabhupada states within Bhagavad Gita, resolute in purpose. Resolute in purpose simply means that we have the dedication to try. Maybe we don't get it perfect. Because what perfection, if we have learned anything, looking at the lives of countless acharyas, there is no one road to perfection. That road to perfection is paved with genuine authenticity, sincerity, enthusiasm, patience, and dedication. No longer is there just, okay, there's a checkbox. There's a list of things that you do, and you check one off. Okay, I've done the sadhana, I've done the prayers, I've done the puja, I've bowed down at the proper times, I've taken bath at the proper times, and now magically everything happens. Krishna knows when we are being mechanical. Material nature also knows when we're being mechanical. She knows exactly where our weak points are. She's done her research. Now the question is, have we? If we are going to think about this material nature as an adversary, and I don't actually advise that we do this because she's incredibly powerful, much more powerful than we can ever imagine. And so my goal in life has been instead to pray to Srimati Subhadra Devi and to pray to Parvati Devi, who is none other than the very sister and the internal potency of Sri Krishna, and just, to try and maybe placate her, to get her on my side, rather than look at her as an adversary, because doing that wasn't helping. I was trying, but it wasn't working. But she has taken the time to do her research. She knows our weak spots, the chinks in the armor, as they say. She knows all the places where we'll falter. So she knows exactly what to entice us with. Now, the question is, have we done our research? Do we know what to entice Krishna with? Are we sure about our determination? Are we sure about this Krishna? Sometimes we say we take up Krishna consciousness, but inside we're holding back because we're not so sure. Yes, I believe in this Krishna. And my mother would ask the question, okay, we say we believe in Krishna. Are we acting like it? Do we really believe? Tukaram really believed. He had full faith. He was an incredibly special personality, one who was said to have been initiated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, a lot of people have a problem with the timeline of this because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared like several decades and wound up his pastime several decades before Tukaram appeared. So, how is this possible? Our sources say it was within a dream. And he would have very many dreams of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu giving him advice and letting him know how he should preach. The devotees who were worshippers of Vital would also go on Harinam Sankirtan. They would go on great pilgrimages to Pandharpur. And then they would return to their home places. And Ashadi Ekadashi, this Ekadashi is very dear because it would mark the end of that pilgrimage. And they would have a big festival. And so Tukaram came from this lineage of those who would perform Harinam Sankirtan. Tukaram became a poet, and he would write simplistic poetry in such sweet and common language. So simple that those who would hear it would find they would have no trouble remembering it. And it would stay within their minds, kind of like the bhajans of Adipurush Prabhu. So I feel as though it is so imperative to realize how important poetry, dance, drama, performance is to Krishna consciousness. I was just reading a memory by Rasagya Mataji, who was one of my first performance teachers. She used to teach in the Sunday school here in New York, and they would teach dance and drama. Her and Loitaksha Prabhu. Both have since passed. But I remember them both fondly as devotees who would become so incredibly absorbed in their offering. They were so, when they would act and when they would dive into the different performances of Krishna consciousness, there was no differentiation. They became the role. And Mother Asagya was speaking about how they were going to perform the kidnapping of Rukmini in front of Srila Prabhupada. And she felt terrified. She was thinking, how am I going to perform this role? And Srila Prabhupada he will see right through me. It almost seemed ridiculous. And she thought, what can I do? And so she went, she performed, and it was full of anxiety. She said she was just completely sweating the entire time. And she said when they finished the drama, they went back to their dressing room area. And Shrutigirti Prabhu came and told them what Srila Prabhupada thought of the performance. And he said, this performance is almost better than reading my books because it is an experience that sticks within the mind. And then he said, Rukmini, she was the best. And Mother Rasagya was thinking, how can I even think that that's true? But Srila Prabhupada must have known that that's what I needed to hear. And I think that this is incredibly important for us. No service is too small. There is no service that is just minimized. So, what we might think of as, oh, this is my just small, one tiny little offering, it's one little bhajan, one little poem, whatever it is, it's changing someone's life and creating an experience of Krishna consciousness that sticks within the mind. It is preaching. We are bringing others to Krishna. So I was just talking with a friend, and I was encouraging her, and I was asking her. I said, you used to write so many beautiful poems. How is your poetry? She said, well, I didn't think I had time. I said, but that's a service. It's such a service. We need it, because now all over the world there are people singing the abhangas of Tukaram. There are so many people singing the poetry of Tukaram. Even at his own time, he was starting to gain many, many followers. Which, once again, when we begin to really take up this Krishna consciousness, many, many things happen. And so he had many adversaries. People became incredibly jealous. People became antagonistic. And we see this in the case of so many Acaryas. Not only outside people, but also inside people. His own wife was not really on board. And she used to criticize him often. And she used to criticize his, and these are her words, her quotes, his blackface God. And so she used to ask, what will he do? Is he going to provide? Is he going to pay if we lose our cows or buffaloes or whatever it is? Is he going to protect our livelihood? Because Tukaram would go out for work every day, but inevitably he would begin singing. He would begin his bhajan and forget everything else. And so sometimes we see it, maybe once in a while. Maybe one time we get to that Rath Yatra, or one time we get to that Harinam, and we're in it, we're dancing, and we forget everything else. But this was Tukaram every day. So it became a problem for his wife, who felt less secure in that. And Tukaram was sure that the Lord would provide. And indeed, the Lord did continue to provide. So we hear about miseries from other living entities, miseries of the mind and body, miseries of material nature. So Tukaram was experiencing all of them. There was a famine that he had to live through and lost several family members within. And still he somehow kept his faith in Lord Vittal. And still he would sing. And still he would continue. So this is what our dedication needs to be like. And we have to understand that there will be this resistance. There may be pushback even from the people that love us. And we don't have to be un-Vaishnav about it. But there are ways that we can reconcile the two sides in a much more peaceful manner. And I think the more that we are constant with our service, the more that we really continue and keep our dedication and our faith to that service, the more that Krishna will show us and everyone around us how everything works out and how he is constantly working everything out. Likewise, even with the case of Mirabai, Mirabai faced a lot of opposition, especially from those around her. They did not want her to be such a devout follower of Krishna. They thought your place is to be in the palace, being a princess, not out singing and dancing in front of all kinds of people who knows where, in whichever temple. This is outside of society. What are you doing? They tried to capture her. They tried to give her poison. They tried to do all kinds of things. They eventually told her, why don't you just go drown yourself in the river? All these things. Her dedication was that fierce. And there was the mindset, not even of, I'm going to get revenge. None of these acharyas were trying to get revenge and bring down the wrath of the gods upon their adversaries. They were simply too busy with their Krishna consciousness. They were simply too busy loving Krishna to even think about revenge. That's kind of how I would like to be. I want to develop that propensity, because I feel as though when it happens to me, when it comes upon me, and when there's that opposition, I can often feel like, okay, here we go, Lord. It's showtime. Remember all of those times in Chaitanya Charitamrita and all of those times, etc., when the people would push back against the devotees and then horrible things would happen to them. Here we go, Lord. Now's the time. You can show me that you exist by smiting all of my enemies. But that's not what our acharyas did. Our acharyas were simply too busy. I want to be too busy in my Krishna consciousness to worry about the revenge. They were too busy within their Krishna consciousness to even worry about the resistance. They were just too eager to find Krishna. This is what I want. I want to be too busy, too engrossed in Krishna's mercy. Prahlad Maharaj, he begged Lord Nrsingadev to pardon his father for all atrocities. Prahlad Maharaj could have asked for revenge. He could have asked for the entire demon kingdom to be razed to the ground. Lord Nrsingadev was already angry. He could have done it. He would have done it. He simply asks, forgive my father. Don't hold anything against him. In fact, give him liberation. Not only is he not asking for revenge, he's asking to benefit his father. That is a heavy concept for me. But that for me is the meaning of forgiveness and surrender. My forgiveness really becomes all about my perspective. Am I looking at this other soul, this other living entity, as a part and parcel of Krishna? And therefore, have I gotten to the place where even if we never connect again, which is fine, am I at a place where I can pray for their benefit? And that all has to do with me. Has nothing to do with what the other person has done. So Tukaram was very much like this. Never holding a grudge, willing to understand different viewpoints. There was one Brahmin who was very antagonistic toward him. And he was getting really envious that Tukaram was amassing this following and getting all of these people. And this Brahmin had done so many pujas and mantras and tantras all through his life. And what is Tukaram doing? He's not even a Brahmin, that's one. And two, now he's just writing these little poems, these little 2-line songs with the most simplistic language. We have all of the language of the Vedas. And now here comes this Tukaram in this village language, writing things like, oh, my mind is addicted to Govinda. That's it. We've spent time memorizing all of the Sanskrit languages and all of these different verses, and that's it. You get to write a song about, oh, my mind is addicted to Govinda. Everybody's going to sing it. It's preposterous. So he became very upset, quite antagonistic. And he tells Tukaram, you should throw all of your abhangas into the Indrani river. What makes you think that you are qualified to do this? Any of us ever come up against that resistance? People deciding, what makes you so qualified to do this? What makes you so qualified to be Krishna conscious? I've been doing this for so long. I've been doing this the right way for so long. And here you come with this simplistic attitude. Everything is so simple. Yeah. You just take to Krishna consciousness. So having full faith, Tukaram takes all of his poetry, wraps them up, tosses them into the river. And they sink to the bottom. They're gone. The devotees who were so attached to his poetry and his songs were devastated. Tukaram himself even felt great sadness. Everyone was crying. And then Tukaram sat down to fast. 13 days later, he gets a wonderful internal message from Krishna. Don't worry. You watch how I make everything okay. All of those abhangas, now they are written on palm leaves and different. This is the the age of DIY paper. Do it yourself. It's not like we have all of this processed paper now. You've got nothing but palm leaves, biodegradable, fully. And not to mention all of the aquatics that are within the water that will feed off of so many of these things. They should have been fully disintegrated. All of the poetry washes back up on shore. Completely perfect. Intact. Now what happens when we don't have a miracle like this in our lives to show us that we're on the right path? What's our guideline? We often do have miracles like this. We just don't usually think of them as miracles. I wrote a book of poetry and then also consequently became my own worst enemy because, the mind. Spoiler alert, Krishna was actually right when he said the mind can be the best friend or the worst enemy. And in my case, often my mind jumps in and says so many things. What makes you think that after all of the things that everyone has done, we have so many Vaishnava poets, what makes you think that you are equipped to do this? And I thought, well, I'd already done it, so there's no going back now. I've already published it. What to do? And my mind continued, but does anybody even read it? Does it make a difference? And I thought to myself, but I was trying to make an offering, so maybe the positive outcome is not that thousands of people read it, but I've just offered my heart sincerely to Krishna. And then the mind comes in, have you really offered your heart sincerely? I'm sure there could be more surrender. And we had a back and forth tussle, and finally I thought, this is too much, and I took a nap. Then I woke up and I still wasn't feeling better, and then I prayed. I said, oh Krishna, what is this? My mind is coming for me. It's out to get me. What do I do? Because I was thinking of even compiling another book of poetry, and I was like, well, even if the first book isn't working, why would I compile another book? And I looked to the face of my Govinda in the back wall. And I said, oh Lord, what do I do? Why am I doing this? And I thought, because how could I not? How could I not? My Lord is so merciful, so kind, so compassionate, that even if there is never any acknowledgement, how could I not? I owe it to my Lord. My Lord has been acting within my life without acknowledgement all this time. How could I not? And I thought, okay, fine, I'll keep going. And then I went and I checked my email. And it was exactly at that moment that I got an email from an organization saying that my book had won an award. And so sometimes we can downplay the miracles in our lives when Krishna is telling us, I'm here, I'm listening, don't worry. But those are undoubtedly miracles. Krishna is preserving what we have and carrying everything that we lack at all times. We shouldn't doubt it. And just because we wake up each day and we go through the motions of the day doesn't mean that Krishna is not doing his job. It actually means that Krishna is doing his job even better. He's doing his job so well, he's almost unseen. Imagine that. Imagine if our service was to do our service so well that we almost unseen. This is how Krishna serves the living entities and is constantly serving the living entities. Even those living entities that say, you know what, I just want to forget about you. In fact, I want to give and propagate the knowledge that you don't even exist. Krishna then says, to everyone I give remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness, seated within their hearts. And so he gives this transcendental forgetfulness. No problem. You want to forget me? No problem. You want to tell other people that you've forgotten me? No problem. If we all had to do our service like that, I think it would take a toll on us. But this is Krishna. So our Acaryas understand our struggles, and Krishna loves to serve the living entities? That's huge. As spoiled and ungrateful, as unrecognizing as we are, Krishna loves to serve the living entities. So this day of Ashadi Ekadasi reminds me of Tukaram. It reminds me that sometimes we may face opposition, but we don't have to look at it as such opposition. We can just think, oh, Maya Devi, there you are, asking me, are you sure? Are you sure this is what you want? Because at any moment you could back out of this contract. I'll help you. Are you sure? So the same way that we can see Krishna everywhere, even in the moments of resistance, we can see Krishna's internal potency as well. And even if we think, oh, Maya's asking me once again, am I sure? That should also help us remember Krishna. Because where there is Mahamaya, there's also Yogamaya. She's always there, full and complete. So we can ask, oh Devi, I know that you are the internal potency to Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given you the blessing that for non-devotees, you keep him hidden. But for the devotees, you usher them closer to Krishna. Please show me your worshipful Lord. And then she tends to get really soft-hearted. It's a very good plan. Not to say that there won't be obstacles and things that chafe or rub against us. There always will be. And it will hurt. My Guru Maharaj says it's not a test unless you feel tested. It's not stress unless you feel stressed out. So she's going to do her job really well because that is her job. And imagine, why would it be her job? When I was younger, I used to think, why would that be somebody's job? You know, why would they do that? But think about the people that you love. And for those people that we really, really love, if someone continuously came and said, you know, I love you so much, let me give you the moon and the stars and the sun and everything best in the universe and all my love that my heart has to give. And then your person says, okay, no problem. And as soon as they get into that relationship, the other person leaves. Yeah, I was just kidding. Actually, I have more important things to do. At a certain point, we'd think, okay, if my loved one is not going to protect themselves from this toxic relationship, then I need to step in and say something. This is Maya Devi, stepping in and saying something. So our acharyas understand our struggles. Krishna loves to serve his devotees. And Maya is there to make sure that Krishna doesn't get burnt out. Because everybody, she is so protective over her Krishna, and rightfully so. Everyone in Krishna's entourage was constantly thinking, oh, but how will Krishna work without my service? Krishna depends on my service. He loves my service. So Maya Devi is also thinking, Krishna loves my service. And he won't protect himself against his devotees. So someone needs to look out for all of them. So she's doing her service very well. Really well. We just have to decide, are we sure? Do we really want this? Then we continue with determination. Understanding that miracles will pop up in our lives and that we should write them down so that we can remember them. We should write poetry. 2 lines. His poetry was so simple. 2 lines, 3 lines, whatever it is. Srila Prabhupada would say, you write your realizations about Krishna. 2 lines, 4 lines, whatever they are, write down your realizations. We should have some realizations about Krishna. Even if the realization is as simple as, Krishna is so wonderful. He has made sunrises and sunsets. Look at how wonderful our Krishna is. That's it. It's a perfect realization. It doesn't have to be more complex than that. But the more that we do it, we start to amass petal after petal after petal, which becomes a beautiful lotus. And then we've got lotus after lotus after lotus, which becomes the most beautiful garland. We've got garland after garland after garland, and Krishna's unlimited. There's no end to what he can accept from us. So following in the footsteps of so many of our Acaryas, our Acaryas, 6 Goswamis, Tukaram even, Mirabai even, Srila Prabhupada even, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bhakti Vinod Thakur. There's such a great lineage of devotional writers that we come from. This is our ancestry and our family. So it's important for us to write down these spiritual realizations. They become an experience that stick within the mind. When we were writing them based off of the purports and the writings of our Srila Prabhupada, they become the memories that we have with his books. These become the memories that we get to have with Srila Prabhupada. So thank you so much for allowing me to be here with all of you on this Ekadashi.
Thank you, Acyuta Gopi, Devi, Prabhu. Krishna is so wonderful. Here's my realization. Krishna is so wonderful that he made Acyuta Gopi, and he made Acyuta Gopi write poetry. Acyuta Gopi, don't stop. Don't dare to stop. It's very inspiring when devotees live their truth. They found something that they like, and then they go with it. It's so inspiring. Please never stop. Don't even think. We're going to send you an email. If it takes another email, we'll send you another email. Poetry. Thank you very much. Okay. This darshan is going on at the Bhakti Center. And we can take maybe 1 or 2 questions. It's Sunday. We can take a few questions or realizations. You have to have realizations, the Acyuta Gopi says. So unmute yourself and share. Bhakti Yugo, let's do it.
Hare Krishna, Acyuta Gopi Prabhu. It's a great pleasure to have you give class. I listened to your kirtans for probably a year or 2 or 3. That's the capacity I know you in as the kirtaniya. So it's a wonderful pleasure and honor to be surprised by being able to hear you give a class on this fine day, getting to explore another aspect of your devotional service. A lovely class, much can be said, but the question that comes to mind in this idea of resistance, of understanding that the more we surrender in Krishna consciousness, the more setbacks and challenges can come. And there's things that test us. And we've especially spoken about family and how family, I mean, I resonate with that so much. Like, yes, spirituality is important, but not too much spirituality, just a little bit. And on one side, we must be able to resist that and to have that internal stability and to be able to practice with firm faith and conviction. But on the other hand, we see that often there's a balance of practicality of, you know, here are these people, they're offering me challenges, but I have a responsibility to them. Or here's a situation that's limiting my service, but at the same time, it's a practical matter that I have to deal with. Many people don't have the capacity, you know, like, all right, let's push that all aside. I'll move to a temple, forget about everything, change my name, no one will find me. And so I guess I'm curious about your reflections and insights on how does one navigate that balance between resistance and conviction, and at the same time, practicality and navigating through the complicated world we live in?
Yeah. What's interesting is that there may be no blanket formula for every kind of resistance. One person was asking Radhanath Maharaj about parental resistance when the parents come in and they say, you know, be spiritual but not too spiritual. And they were asking, you know, how do I preach to my parents? How do I get them to understand this? And his simple answer was, you don't. They have had the job of cleaning you, feeding you, birthing you, raising you, you don't. The dynamic is not conducive to you preaching to them. And he even says that when he first became a brahmachari, Radhanath Maharaj says famously that he's like, I tortured my parents with my Krishna consciousness. So we don't want to torture our family members with our Krishna consciousness. But then he did say, he said, you just continue. You can serve the parents nicely, but you also respectfully continue your Krishna consciousness. You are just as dedicated as you can be. You try your best. And the longer that they see that you are dedicated in a respectful manner, that does not push them away, right? That does not ostracize them, but serves to continue to bring them in to your experience, the more they'll feel it. Krishna will work magic on the other hand. And we have devotees' endeavor, Krishna's mercy. At the end of this Chaturmas period, we'll have Kartik. And we'll have the wonderful example of Damodar Leela. And that 2 inches too short, those 2 fingers too short, we have devotees' endeavor and Krishna's mercy. So if we're endeavoring in the most respectful way and gently, understanding that these are our parents or sometimes family seniors, we can understand that Krishna's mercy will come. So Krishna's mercy will come in. On the other hand, if we have a job situation and we're thinking, what do I do? I just want to be Krishna conscious, and now I've got to do this job, and I've got to go to work, and I've got to do all these things. And there are so many Acaryas who didn't even go to work. I mean, look at Srivas Thakur. He didn't do any of those things. And Mahaprabhu asked him, he's like, why, Srivas, I never see you working. Do you work? And Srivas's answer was, that is not my inclination, Mahaprabhu. I said, oh. He was very honest about it. That's not my inclination, it's not it. But he had such a firm faith in Krishna that he was willing to say, I'll clap 3 times, which means I'll increase my japa 3 days. 3 days later, Krishna will give me what I need. And Mahaprabhu says, what if that doesn't happen? He said, I'm willing to wager on it. Right now, right here, Mahaprabhu, should we put it to a test? I'll wait 3 days. If Krishna doesn't give me everything, I'm willing to tie a rope with a pot around my neck and drown myself in the Ganga. Mahaprabhu, whoa, no, wait, not necessary. I was just trying to find out how deep your determination was, but clearly I see it's very deep. No problem. I hereby guarantee you always had everything that you need. But what if we are not Srivas? What if we still have to work? Well, then Mahaprabhu gave a very incredible example to Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. They had government jobs, and they felt that they couldn't quit them immediately, but they wanted to. Mahaprabhu's advice was, like a married woman who has a paramour, she does her housework incredibly nicely so as not to tip off the husband that anything is wrong, all the while thinking of her paramour. It's a very interesting example, but it is one that stays with you. It's not one that just whoop, goes right on over your head. Like, you kind of remember that. You're like, huh, interesting. And his point was, while we are forever thinking of Krishna, sometimes it happens that we have to do our work really nicely. And we should do it really nicely. Sometimes we have to pay attention to our obligations, perform that work with character and integrity, with dedication, all the while thinking of Krishna and doing the best that we can with our devotional service, because that will inevitably bring people to the interest of, what's up with that person? Like, they're doing this job and they're doing a really good job and all these things, and then you find that people start coming to you. What's the secret? How are you doing this? How are you so peaceful in whatever situation? How are you able to give such advice in whatever situation? And then slowly but surely you get to reveal what is actually going on in your mind. Well, my meditation on God helps me. It's like covert preaching, just by doing a really, really good job. Once upon a time, there was a coach of a basketball team, and he got really into Zen Buddhism. And he was really coaching the team really well. He was doing awesome things. The team started soaring, getting all championship rings and all whatever. And then everybody wanted to find out about Zen Buddhism, because somehow they had attributed all of this to his leadership skills, everything. So the same was with us. If we can lead with integrity and character, even if we think we are not in the position of a leader at our job, we are always leading. If we can hold on to that integrity and that character and understand that even this is service, all the while thinking of Krishna, then Krishna's mercy comes in and it starts to handle the rest. And then Krishna brings people to you that need to hear about how surrender can change their lives. So that surrender, even to our obligations, is not always a bad thing.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay, one more. Hemangi, what's your reflection today?
Hare Krishna Mataji. I really, I mean, it's a beautiful class, and I love your bhajans and kirtans. And my daughter, she's 10-year-old, and she follows your kirtans too. And you, along with Janvi Mataji, you both inspire her, and she says that probably, she would like to be a kirtaniya. But recently, I mean, she had learned one Vitthal Abhanga, which she recorded yesterday for our family. And she had a question as to why Krishna had to come and appear as Vitthal, because why Krishna had to appear as different gods. Why can't it be just like, one Krishna, so that we all just pray and kind of, serve one Lord? So what would your answer be to this question? Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Because it brings about so much confusion, doesn't it? It's like there's this Krishna and this Krishna and this Krishna, and there's a Krishna and there's a Balaji, but also Krishna, but there's this one and that. And in so many different parts, and not even different parts of India, but different parts of the world. Srila Prabhupada says, I think in the introduction to the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, that Krishna has appeared within every corner of the 7 islands of Jambudweep. Like, this is the earth, right? All of the 7 continents of the earth. But we have only uncovered some of these forms of Krishna. So if Krishna is unlimited, which we understand he is Ananta, he is unlimited, and he comes in a variety of forms, why also then would we limit him, is my converse question. But it is also to understand why Krishna comes. Krishna comes, to quote his own words, whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious activities and an uprising of irreligiosity to reestablish the principles of dharma and religion and all of these things. But really, why does Krishna come? Krishna advents to have relationships with his devotees. They say that the killing of demons is simply a byproduct. The eradicating of the miseries is a byproduct. Really, Krishna comes to have relationships. And so sometimes you dress differently to go see different people. You would not dress the same to go to a temple as you would to go to a courthouse. Likewise, you have a judge, and when the judge is in the courthouse, everybody addresses him a certain way. And when he's at home, he might just be a father, a husband. He might just be grandpa. So Krishna is likewise having all of these relationships with so many different devotees. So yes, it may seem as though, why are there so many Krishnas? But there are so many devotees. There are unlimited, countless hearts who are having relationships with Krishna. And so he takes forms according to those relationships. What is the story of Vitalnath? There was a devotee, Pundalik, and long story short, as it goes, he was serving his parents, which just goes in line with what we were saying, right? Serving his parents. And Krishna, who is more like Dwarkadish in this respect, he walks from the temple to find his dear devotee, Pundalik. Pundalik is serving the parents, and so Vital calls him from outside, "Oh Pundalik, where are you? Where's your seva?" Pundalik thinks, "Oh, my lord is calling me." But he was in the middle of serving his parents. Oh, wait, one moment, my lord. And he places a brick outside. "Oh, my lord, just wait here one moment while I finish my service to my parents." And he goes and he finishes his service to his parents, but Lord Vital goes and stands on that brick, and he waits for his devotee, like this. Rukmini Devi, likewise, also follows her lord. She arrives there, and then she stands, like this. So there are so many forms of Krishna, but the moral is we should look at each form and remember and realize behind this form is a wonderful relationship that my Krishna has with a very special devotee. So this form of Vital, how special is he? He shows his devotees he will wait for them. Shakespeare wisely said, "Time and tide wait for no man, but Krishna will wait." The world may go on throughout our miseries and struggles and our depressions, everything that we go through, the world will continue, but Krishna will wait for us. Throughout whatever we have to do, obligations, family services, whatever it is, Krishna will wait for us. And then add to it, he will change the ocean of material nature so that it is only waist high, not even. So why does Krishna have to appear? Because there are unlimited devotees that want to have a relationship with him, which gives us hope. Because no matter how many garlands and offerings he accepts, and Indra Prabhu used to say this, he'd say, what if my service is like a garland that I'm offering to Krishna? But when you look at the material world, there are gopis and family members, parents. There's a long line of people waiting to also offer Krishna their service and their love. What will happen to my offering? Won't Krishna get tired of accepting the same thing over and over and over again? Okay, this person has a garland, this person has a garland. Fine. By the time he gets to mine, what will be left? This is the joy of having an unlimited Lord. His appetite for our love and devotion is also unlimited. And he is hungry for our love. So what happens? By the time he gets to our offering, he is just as eager as the very first offering of the day. As long as we can infuse it with our sincerity and our devotion. So it's a great source of hope and encouragement that there are so many varieties of Krishna. That means we have so many people to pray to. We have so many aspects of Krishna to remind him of when we go through rough times. Oh, Krishna, you promised this ocean would only be waist high, but I'm feeling like it's neck high. Where's your mercy? I need your mercy. Even if you think I don't deserve it, I need it. You promised you would carry what I lack. I'm lacking. So we have so many aspects of Krishna that we can relate to. I think it's a wonderful, amazing thing that we have so many Krishnas. And those are just the ones that we've uncovered so far.
Wow, amazing. Acyuta Gopi, you so beautifully unpacked this concept of why Krishna comes and how he comes and how there's room for every one of us in his service. Very inspiring. Okay, let's wrap it up, dear devotees. Thank you very much. Acyuta Gopi Devi Prabhu Ki Jai, Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Everybody on this call with their cameras on or off, Ki Jai. We love you all. Have a wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Keep serving. Krishna is unlimited. His appetite is unlimited. Hare Krishna.
Mataji, Hare Krishna, Hare Bol.